Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast, the first ever podcast designed to showcase Canadian thought leadership. These innovators share industry insights, entrepreneurial best practices, lessons learned, and other tips that we can incorporate right into our lives, our careers, and our businesses. So let's get inspired. So I look for inspiration basically everywhere I could kind of find it. I get inspired by the most amazing things and the smallest things. But I wanted to kind of reset some kind of thinking here. I think the news and the media always keeps kind of pushing that, a lot of innovation is coming from technology. Well, that's not really true. Innovation, if we think about what it really means, it means it's an improvement to something. It actually comes from the Latin word innovatus, which actually means to renew or change something. So when I was sitting down, I got to actually chat with Lisa Marks, who is an amazing co-host of this podcast called The Secret Life of Weddings. And she actually shares really ridiculously hilarious, some horrific, true wedding horror stories that have actually been submitted. And what I really liked about, now, not just the podcast, it's really fun, and it really is funny, is that her inspiration came from something that she's been doing for years. She's a professional photographer with over a decade of experience in the industry. And she took something that was a passion of hers and she elevated it and saw a different dimension, and she ended up doing this podcast. So anyways, I would love you to check it out. I think you're going to be inspired. And I think that's what we have to remember, that innovation comes from so many different places. And it's not about just being around technology. It's about just involving different things and aspects of your own current passions and curiosity and all those different pieces. So take a listen to this one. I think you're going to be inspired. And honestly, I think you're going to laugh a lot because I definitely did. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. You made me sound pretty good.
Do I? Well, honestly, I am so absolutely charmed by you because, first of all, your podcast is actually one of my favorite guilty pleasures.
As many. I think it's pretty guilty for many people, but that's exactly what we wanted to be. We didn't want to be the traditional wedding podcast, so...
Yeah, but I have to ask, are all of these stories really, truly 100% true?
As far as we know, yes. I mean, we do what we can. Rebecca, my co-host, she's the story girl. So she is amazing at what she does. She does her due diligence as much as she can. And it's so funny because she'll be the first one to call bullshit on something too. So we'll be doing like a saga or something, and we'll go through a few, stories, and then she'll get halfway through and I'm all like digging it. She goes, I call bullshit on this. So... 99, I would say good 95% of the time, yes, it's accurate. Yes, it's true because it's either our stories or in the news, which is, usually fairly vetted, or listener stories. And people, I don't know, it's just too particular to be fake. Do you know what I mean? Like truth is stranger than fiction, I guess.
I know, because some of that stuff, you're like, that is too crazy. You can't make that up. I was dying of laughter about the glass elevator bride and the guy that came on with the Speedo right afterwards and walked through the wedding. I was literally dying. And I could actually visualize and picture this whole entire thing. I could not, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just too funny.
Something about how that particular building was built and the description of the architecture inside, it's all too particular. I'll make up stories in that particular way. You know what I mean?
I know. I think it's just phenomenal. So where do the stories come from? Are they coming from the bride, or is it the groom, or just random guests?
It's all over the place. Often it will be guests. It will be wedding parties who have dealt with a bridezilla. It very often can be the bride. It's occasionally a groom, not so often, but we do have some guys who listen. Actually, one of my favorites is a guy named John, who's like a trucker in his 40s or something, who just listens on the road. And he told us he was listening to us because he heard us on a true crime podcast advertised. And it just made me laugh so hard. So now he's an active member in our group. And I love that he's completely the antithesis of our typical listener. So he's one of my favorites.
It's honestly, every week I get excited because I know I'm going to listen to you, and I actually take you to the gym with me, and I sometimes might actually fall off the treadmill. There are times because there's moments where you want to spit out your water. Like you're like, no, like, come on, right? Like it's like it's crazy, these stories. Like what inspired you to start this?
Okay, so this is actually a good story. So Rebecca, now I didn't even tell the story right away because I was like, it's a little too close, but it's been long enough that I'll dish. I was out to drinks with Rebecca, who is also, she was a friend of mine. Now she's my best friend. She's my bestie. But before we were, friends in the industry, and she would occasionally help me out, say an engagement shoot or things like that. And I had a mother of the groom who wanted photography coverage for the wedding day at her house. So she was a traditional Italian mom of the groom. She was going to have the whole spread. She was going to have all the family over, which is, great. I totally get why you might want some coverage at your house. So all was fine. I hired Rebecca. I should say I had the mother hire her. And then, Rebecca basically shot it, gave me the photos after, but it was a fucking nightmare. Sorry to swear, but it warrants it. It was really, she was very high maintenance, gave Rebecca a real hard time. So as a result of that, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me take you out for drinks immediately. Let me put alcohol in you because I'm so sorry. So I took her out and we were just chatting about the hot mess that this entire experience was. And I said, my God, wouldn't it be great if someone started a podcast to actually talk about these things that nobody in our industry ever dares talk about because, everybody's afraid to say anything. And I said, we could tell the stories anonymously. And so that's another thing. Vendors, a lot of vendors come to us anonymously and dish on what's happened with their clients that they can't tell or get off their chest in any way because they won't even share it in a private Facebook group with vendors because that it's not private online, right? So it's always going to be attached to a name, except when you're dealing with our show.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So, and then it just grew from there and everybody's just been loving it. So it's been really cool.
No, I think it's really brilliant. And by the way, it's so funny because every time I listen to your podcast with you and Rebecca, your co-hosting chemistry is off the charts. Like you can really feel that you guys are just so in sync and you just love laughing at things. Like I actually feel like when I'm listening, I'm having a glass of wine with you guys and just hanging with you guys. Like you just make it so down to earth and personable and fun, like totally fun.
Love hearing that. That's exactly what we wanted because it literally was born that way. So we wanted people to feel that way, and we've really fostered that, I think, with our fans connection. And I mean, I always feel weird using the word fans, but listeners or, whoever's down with our show, we really like to connect with them. And I think that really feeds into our chemistry together too.
In fact, one of the reviews I was reading about you guys, it says, it feels like I'm hanging with my besties. Yeah. Like, it was just so charming. Like, people really feel connected with you guys. Like, your banter is off the charts. Like, what's kind of going on, and then you're here in Toronto. You guys did your first live show, right? Or is this your couple? You've done this before?
Yeah, we did one in the States that was just super small. And then we did one in Toronto, which was bigger, which was great. So we had about 70 people when you factor in the people who attended online. Because we had a few people from around the world watching, from Australia, from England, and it was really, really cool. But we had a ton of people at an art gallery in Toronto, and it was so much fun to see everyone. And the audience, the energy from them was amazing that I don't know, we just fed off of it. I really hope that we get to do more because it totally brought a different dynamic.
I can imagine. And plus you got cake pops. So
we did pumpkin cake pops, which was great. So
that's amazing, because when your guys were talking about it and all your kids were trying to eat them and steal them from you guys and so on, I was dying. I was like, I really want a cake pop now. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. It was a good time.
So you know what I love about, you being an innovator and an inspiration is because you've taken such a beautiful artwork. I am in awe of anyone that can take beautiful photographs because I actually am awful at it. I don't care what kind of filters they have and Instagram, all that stuff. Like, I don't have a magic eye that can see things that no one else can see. Yeah. And so I actually get really inspired and really kind of like, just absolutely charmed by people that can see that. But you've taken your art and craft in a very different direction that I don't think a lot of people can actually say they can do that with their talent, right? If they were painting or and so on, like, got to pay the bills. But you've managed to turn this into another type of art form, taking this podcast and doing all of these other things. And your artwork that you guys, have, like the merchandise and stuff, is fun too. Like, how did that really transpire?
Honestly, can I be completely honest with you? I'm in the midst of leaving the wedding business. The wedding photography business, because I got bored. I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. It's funny because I love my clients. I love the work. I still do rock photography because that's kind of always been the passion. You don't really get paid for it. So I don't know. I did it for 10, 11 years. I still take occasional jobs from the right clients, but I guess just the grind of doing the full service all the time, it just got to be, I don't know. I just needed something new. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a creative. I always need a new project. And so doing this podcast for a year and a half is incredibly dedicated for me. So I knew it was something I really loved. So we're actually trying to really make a go of it, Rebecca and I, to make this more of a full-time thing. So it's sort of the dream right now. Wedding photography was the dream. I felt that I accomplished that, and I did it, to an incredibly high standard for over 10 years. And you just hit that point where you're just like, I don't know. It's time. It's time to move away from this world. And as proud as I am of all the amazing things you said about me in the beginning, I feel like that it's just a part of my life, like a chapter. And that chapter has just come to a close now. My kids are starting to get a little older. I want my weekends back now. It's just, I need something new. So we're even taking the podcast, which is growing with not only sponsorship, our Patreon is very healthy, and that's been amazing, the support of the fans. That's actually getting closer and closer every month to allowing us to actually make money properly off this podcast and live as creatives doing this podcast. So I feel like it's a stepping stone. It's like I kind of have completed this one chapter. Now I'm moving on to this other amazing chapter. And we're starting to speak as well at events. So we spoke at PodCamp Toronto, where we talked about, our talk was called How to Create a Thriving Fan Base for Your Podcast. Because like I said, we have a very involved group on Facebook who we absolutely adore. They call themselves the Squeams. That's their nickname. They name themselves that. And so we really, incorporate it all. And we're just really excited to kind of be starting this new chapter with the podcast and everything, even though it's a year and a half old, but we still have so much territory that we're going after.
No, it's great because you do grow out of things. Like, you've mastered something, and thank goodness you started the podcast, because then all these other new opportunities have shown itself.
Exactly. It's like, I feel like every step I've ever taken as a person in my career, even back to when I worked in advertising and stuff, like all came around, and I do all the branding, I do all the marketing, I do all the website building. I'm doing all these things behind the scenes that you don't see. Like, I'm doing websites for other people right now. I'm doing transcription. I'm doing all these bits and pieces to make podcast be okay, to try to make a living off of these things. Because I feel like I've been doing one thing for so freaking long that I need to just be everywhere for a while, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally does. It totally does. It's just like when I quit my corporate, job or whatever, and everyone's like, "You've lost your marbles. You did this as part of a podcast." It wasn't about that. It was, I needed to try something new. I just didn't know what it was. So, it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to see what sticks, right? Like, you just know.
Yeah. And we actually, if you don't mind, the biggest thing for us right now is like we started a shop that is a wedding store. So it's like shopsecretlifeofweddings.com, and it's got these amazing ring boxes that we've got, and like, bachelorette supplies, and like that is sort of the corporate, the retail kind of side of what we're trying to do with the podcast. So we're trying to combine those two businesses together in one to create a life together.
It's so exciting. Like, this is like such an exciting chapter. Like, who knew all this stuff might potentially be opportunities, right? And
Exactly. Yeah.
I love how you guys stepped out of your comfort zone and try and push the boundaries. And that's why I'm so like, this is crazy. This is great. You know, has there kind of been a aha moment or kind of a lessons learned that, you know, when you're trying to kind of experiment and that you're kind of like, oh, I wish someone had told me that, or I wish I understood what someone told me? I think that's another way of doing it.
I mean, there's always things. I think that there was some aha moments of like, oh, I'm glad we did that. Cause you know, I'll be honest, we're doing well, with our, you know, downloads and things like that. And I say that because I know it's very hard and I know it's challenging and it's an uphill climb, but we have been working our butts off, you know, getting every single listener. Like, we'll go after one at a time, quite literally, online, talking to everyone, trying to get them to listen to the show, trying to encourage that. And I think it's, you know, lessons learned have been like, okay, you're in these podcast groups and you see people saying, oh, should I monetize right away? And all these people are going, don't monetize right away. And someone actually told us, don't monetize right away. And we said, screw that. We're creatives, but we're going to get paid for our work. We did decide to monetize right away. And it was the best decision we made that way. So, I mean, there's, you know, more dry lessons as to like, we had crappy audio quality in the very beginning. We did our best. We knew not what we were doing at all. But we learned our way through that. But I would say, yeah, it's more like what we did right. And it was kind of like, yeah, you're on the right track. We monetized. We got our Patreon going. We did all this. I didn't have like 6 episodes saved up, 7 episodes saved up. Like they say, oh, when you're going to launch a podcast, you should have all. I don't know. We didn't do that. All we did was put out one, and then right at the same time the next week, we put out the next one. So those things are one of the biggest lessons that we did right was, you know, consistency with your release schedule. Monetizing right away is something we did. And also we had faith. We didn't listen to the naysayers. There was someone yesterday who was like, don't bother, you know, monetizing, do it for the love of it. The odds that you're going to succeed are so low. And me and Rebecca were like, bitch, please. So we literally, you know, Rebecca launched on him like white on rice. Okay. She jumped on this guy. It was so funny. She starts tagging me. She's bitching at me, like texting me. And I'm like, girl, I know. So I went on and I supported her in what she was saying. And I said to this guy, you know, if someone reads this, cause he's like, oh, you guys are an anomaly. You're lucky. You got a sponsor. You know, I think we got a sponsor 30 days in, which was Zola, our wedding registry. Now we are niche, but anyway, the point is they saw value in it. And immediately he's like, oh, you're just an anomaly. You know, most people aren't going to have this happen for them. And I said, yeah, but the problem I got with you pissing all over everyone's fireworks here is that the next anomaly might not even try because you're kind of crapping on them, you know? So I feel like you have to have faith in what you do because it's kind of like the lottery, right? If you don't play, you can never win.
It's so true. It's so true. And there are always going to be those naysayers out there, right? And honestly, sometimes I want to do is just give them a big hug.
Yeah. Kill them with kindness. That's what my husband does. Just kills them with kindness. You
know, because I always kind of feel bad because they're obviously coming from a different place of pain and that they can only see the buts. And, you know, and I always feel bad for that because I'm like, you can't see the why nots, like, you know, and like, yeah. And I always kind of want to give them a hug because I can't imagine what tastes they have in their world, like how they, you know, taste food and how do they order and, you know, what's the rest of the experience in life feel like?
I just get heinously angry. I don't have patience like you.
Oh, you know why? I think it's because I got thick skin because I've just met such weird people all my life and they've said the weirdest things and I'm just like, who are you? Like, yeah. Like
I always go, who hurt you?
Yeah, that's just it. I think people needed a lot more hugs when they were growing up, you know?
Yeah.
How do people become trolls? I think it's because they just needed a hug. That's really what it is.
Like, who pissed all over your fireworks? Why are you so fucking sad right now?
Yeah, it's so awful. So you know what I was thinking about? I have... was watching the show on Amazon Prime Video. It's called Made in Heaven. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No, I haven't.
Oh, so basically it's actually based in India, and it's about these Indian wedding planners. And if you know anything about Indian weddings, they are like to the nines. Like everything is like, Bollywood, glamorous beyond belief. Like it's all a big, huge showcase. I guess it's kind of like, a lot of other cultures too. So anyways, it's really interesting because they kind of did this show, and it's not a reality show by any chance. It happens to be a scripted show about these two wedding planners and the stuff about how stories about how families come together and all the hidden drama that happens in the background and how they have to kind of patch families up or people up in order to get this wedding to go live. And it's just kind of really, really crazy of a story. So anyways, you should totally check it out because I think it got me thinking about, your secret life of weddings. Your stories are so colorful that I could actually see a sitcom being based off of some of these things.
Absolutely.
That's what got me thinking when I saw this Made in Heaven and I was listening to you and I was like, I could really see this kind of really showcasing something.
Yeah, we have a concept. I'm not going to lie to you. We'll see if anything happens with it, but we definitely have ideas. We have so many ideas of ways to expand our brand that we're excited about. We just need the right break to happen. So if there's a producer listening or a network guy, or girl, call me. That would be really cool.
That's a great idea. Actually, I might have a connection for you. So,
cool.
Ask and you shall receive. So that's fantastic. So, okay, so we've got some other new secret stuff happening potentially with the Secret Life of Weddings, TBD. This is really fabulous. Do you have any last minute advice or guidance for those that really want to step outside their comfort zone?
Oh man. Yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. Like that's one thing Rebecca and I do is we're very, very honest about who we are, what we're talking about, whether we know what the hell we're talking about or not. I'm right in the thick of it right now. I'm hoping that, I talk to you a year, 2 years from now, and I tell you, this was the best decision I made in my life. Right now, I quit weddings several months ago, and I'm still feeling like it was the right move. I really don't think I'll ever go back to it fully. I still do a little bit of destination work, but which I do love because it's occasional, right? It's the right client. But I think that it's going to take a little time. And all I can tell you, and all I can tell my parents, and all I can tell my husband, who they're all so supportive, but I would be lying if they didn't sometimes say to me, like, are you sure? Are you fucking crazy? You left weddings. You were good at this. You're making good money. I don't know. I've always, always, always flown by the seat of my pants and gone with my gut. And it's never led me wrong. It's never led me astray. So I would say, we followed that with the podcast and everything, and it's being successful. So I would say, listen to your gut. I know it's kind of cliche, but it's true. And obviously take care of yourself and your family. I mean, what I did was kind of stupid. So I'm admitting that. It could be a bit of a mistake. I don't know yet. I don't know. Stay tuned. Come subscribe to The Secret Life of Weddings and follow our journey because I'm serious. We talk, as you know, we are a chatty show. We are not a traditional podcast where it's like, this is the story, the end. That is not what we do. We do a lot of chit chat. We're kind of my favorite murder that way. The back and forth, the content's in there too. But the point is you get to know Rebecca and I really, really well. So as long as you're cool with that, then we might be the show for you, and you can kind of follow our journey along as we change up our lives and everything. We give updates along the way. So wish us luck, but we think we're on the right track.
I don't think you guys need luck. I think you guys have got the heartbeat and you're going to make magic happen just because you've got the heart for it. Really, really true. You're going to be brilliant. And I honestly, can't wait to see all the next in a year's time, I can't wait for us to come back and go, okay, so now what have you been up to? Because I can just imagine your road is going to be very windy, but it's going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just imagine.
I think so. And that's the neat thing is that I really was just craving was I needed some surprises. I needed some uncertainty. Believe me, we're in no financial position to be just flying by the seat of our pants, but I don't know. You live once, and it was time to do that in my life.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you. So if people want to connect with you, or should they connect with you?
So you can check us out on Instagram, Secret Life of Weddings, or on Twitter, Secret Life of Wed. Or you can go to secretlifeofweddings.com. I mean, most of all, the best way to connect with us is to two steps. Subscribe to our podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're everywhere, Spotify, Apple. Or, and you should also join our Facebook group. So once you are a squeam and you have listened to our show and you like our chatting and you don't mind it, come join our Facebook group. We've got over 2,000 people in there who are active, and it is not all about weddings. We do memes, we do llama pictures, we do all kinds of things. It's just a great group of people, and there's no drama, there's no bullshit. It's so far been amazing, and our people are amazing. So it's fans of Secret Life of Weddings. And then don't forget, if you want to shop for any of the latest trends, and if you're getting married, things like that, it's shopsecretlifeofweddings.com.
It's super exciting, guys. Like, honestly, you're not going to be bored. That's for sure. If you're looking for something boring and simple and safe, don't go here. No. If you're looking for something that's going to make you laugh uncontrollably and just be inspired, this is the place to kind of go. It does kind of make your other spidey senses go in a very different direction.
Oh, thank you so much, Sapna.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much, Lisa.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for joining in and tuning in this week. Next week, you got another really cool episode. I hope you enjoyed the sneak peek. I'm going to try to do this and see how this works. If you guys are interested, like the little sneak teasers, let me know. I'd love to hear back from all of you. And don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. And let me know if you know of another Canadian innovator that's doing something really cool around the world. Let's get them showcased. Or if there's an innovation trend that you would like to specifically focus on. Anyways, looking forward to hearing from all of you, and talk to you next week. Cheers.